Yes.
All right. So what we want to do is on your cards, on the blank side, if you'll write your name really big, and on the line side, give me 3 things. First, what you're most passionate about. Second, your favorite song. Third, your favorite place. Your favorite place. Besides being with me, Josh, what's your favorite place? All right. My name is Madonna Fajardo Kemp. I've taught at Chattanooga State for 4 years, also at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and at Alstom Inc., where I teach engineers how to better write their reports. I'm sure some of you saw the title and you thought, oh no, she's taking us to church. Who thought you were going to church today? Yeah, we're going to church. Yeah, I didn't want to disappoint you, number one, right? But also, sermons are good arguments. And sometimes they can put us on the right path. So let's just stick with that. Okay, so in cultivating classroom community practices, so I have an education degree and I learned a lot from that. But also from trial and error, right? I think that's where we learn the most when we're teaching. But I always knew classroom community practices were very important to me. That I wanted to make sure that my students felt like they belonged together and in the classroom. And I've noticed that I get a really good outcome with the practices that I'm using from their interactions, but also because I have them give presentations at the end of each semester where they have to stand up and do the reflective thing, right? What did I learn? Why did I learn it? How did I learn it? And every single time they mentioned they made friends, they felt like a team, they felt supported. It's extremely rare that something like that is not mentioned in one of their reflections. So I figured I'm doing something right, but we're having a stuffy academic presentation here. So we need more than just, hey, my students say so. So we have Maslow, Erickson. I'm sure y'all have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Erickson's theories. Kuhn, who talks about the inversion of Maslow's pyramid, which is what we're going to talk about in a moment. And then this very important statement from Sergio Vani, which is community can begin with you and your state of mind. And that's exactly where it begins in the classroom. It begins with the teacher's state of mind. What we also want to take a look at today is John MacArthur's sermon called Motivating the Spiritual Son. Because in it, he talks about how Paul motivates Timothy to become a member of the Christian community. So he talks about what does Paul do to make sure that Timothy feels like a Christian, feels like a member of the Christian community. And it's these actions that Paul takes with Timothy that we want to take a look at. Is authority, altruism, appreciation, appeal, affection, affirmation. And when I listened to this sermon, I was like, wow, this is good stuff. And at the end he goes, this is not just about discipling. This can be applied anywhere. And I thought, yes. Yes, it can. Josh, if you could read what it says on the screen, please.
Sure. Establish a position of authority. They need to know they are bound to respond when you speak.
Right. I think this is pretty common sense. We have to show authority to be able to lead. We all understand that. Catherine, if you could read what's up there, please.
You want to convey to them the attitude of altruism. That is, they must know that you have their best interest in your heart.
Right, just because we're in charge doesn't mean they trust us to lead them properly.
Oh no.
Right? We've got to show that they can trust us. Okay, David, if you could read for me, please.
Attitude of appreciation. They need to know you thank God on every remembrance of them.
So this is what John MacArthur says about discipling a spiritual son. But let's think about this in terms of a classroom. Do we show our students that we appreciate them, that we're thankful for them? They're motivated to do that for us, right? Teacher Appreciation Day. or bringing us the apple or whatever, do we do that to them face to face? Right? Okay, the attitude of appeal, Stephanie?
Which means you constantly pray for them.
Right, okay, so in our terms, we're talking about really thinking about them, right? We don't constantly think of our students, but do we show them that we actually think about them as individuals? Betsy?
The attitude of affection says, do you care about them, a deep loving relationship?
Okay, so in the terms of this, talking about a disciple, but we don't want it, like, oh, as our student, do we want to use this term, deep loving relationship? Probably not. But do we have, good affection for our students? And then Emily.
And finally, that spirit of affirmation that affirms them, that says, I know you can do it.
I think we all probably try to do this. Maybe not ensure that we do it with every student. Look them in the eye. I know you can do this. I know you have the ability to do this, right? So that's something to consider. And this is what MacArthur says. This is just about impacting people, influencing people. We are talking about our students who have no faith, and they show up like this. Does this look familiar to you? Right? They don't have faith in the institution. They don't have faith in education. They don't have faith in themselves, and they don't have faith in you. Modern educational practices want to give you the teen spirit nirvana approach to education. Here we are now, entertain us. Right? That's what our students think. So we better come up with some more games, and we better come up with some more apps, right? What I'm telling you is that they're singing a different song. They have basic human need to feel like they belong, to overcome that lack of faith, to have more confidence in themselves. I've been polling my students for the past few years as they come in, the beginning of the semesters. I ask them, how do you feel about your abilities to write? How do you feel about your ability as a student? So what we're going to talk about today for a moment is Dutch Brothers and 7-Eleven. These are the two episodes. What I found in the 7-Eleven episode, this woman, Dolores, so the boss says, I've got this really stellarly producing store. What is going on? It doesn't have special inventory. It's not in a special location. There's nothing unusual about this store. Why is it doing so well? So he goes undercover and he goes there and he finds Dolores. And she's like this older woman, she can barely get around, right? But everybody calls her mom, like and he's like, he hears a couple of guys calling her mom. And so he waits till she walks away and he goes, is that your mother? Oh no, she's just like a mother. She's like our mother. And these people come in and they talk to each other and they talk to her. And this happened in the few moments it took for her to sell them coffee. How long are you going to stay in a gas station? How long are you going to hang out there?
5 minutes tops.
So this happens quickly, right? And then the same thing with Dutch Brothers. So he goes undercover and he finds this woman telling her new trainee, you need to get to know the customers. So they start coming through. I mean, this is like a drive-through situation where they're just buying coffee and she's taking money. And so she's training him and he starts telling them about himself. And she says, no, you need to ask about them. So in the few moments that these people are driving through, again, we have a stellarly producing store. No unusual inventory, no special location. Okay, what do we have that these stores have in common?
Do you want me to read that, or do you want me to tell you what I think?
What do you think? I shouldn't have flipped that first.
Well, we all want to belong. You said that earlier, and that's part of Maslow's deal. But not only belong, but maybe even have a sustaining relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what do you mean by sustaining?
A relationship that you cultivate with the student, and even after you get the emails. Like, I just got a text yesterday from a student who went to the University of Southern Mississippi. She said, I made a 77 on my English essay. I'm so upset. And I said, well, hang in there, go see the professor, say, oh, thank you. What can I do to make this better? So
Did you use the outline that I gave you in my class? So you develop this relationship that lasts, but you know, how did they do it? And basically these women, through just their own personalities really. I don't think that either of these women had any special training that helped them to understand theories or, you know, practices. Even modern marketing does move towards community building to sustain relationships, to sustain sales. And this is what our provosts and our chancellors want, right? The 6-year graduation rate has to come up. It has to. They're in the meetings right now saying this is what has to happen. I don't think that's going to come top down. I think that comes from the classroom level and from this, what we're talking about here. We want life in association with others, the social state, mutual support, social cohesion, right? And it's really about the support, sustaining the support. How did, you know, these women in just a few seconds made these people feel supported. It's just fabulous. So here's what we get. We get this box full of pieces when we get a classroom, and there's nothing, all they have in common is that they're all Legos. All our students have in common, all that we can take for granted is that they're all students, right? So for them to work together, social cohesion, mutual support, something has to be done. A guiding hand. No big bang's gonna happen. Now you might open up that box and a couple of them are stuck together, but no big bang happened and bam, there was a structure when you opened up that box, right? So in the classroom, we're the creator, we are the guiding hand. All right, what do we know about Maslow? Wanda, what do you know?
Hierarchy of needs, simple up to self-actualization. That's where it ends up.
Yeah, it does. Self-actualization, I love it. Okay, so just a quick recap. We have the basic necessary needs to stay alive at the bottom. This is what we're going to focus on until we have them. I don't have food, it doesn't matter what else is going on. All I'm worried about is food. That makes sense. Once we have this, we have security and safety needs. Home, safe home. I might be living in a box here because I'm an adjunct. But then I got some more jobs as an adjunct and now I'm living in a trailer. It works like that. Okay, so after we have safety, security, we move on to love and belongingness, right? Friends, family. Now, we may have these things here, we may want these things here, but love and belongingness is not our priority until we have these things, right? So we move on up. Once we're secure here, our priority, this is where education's going to fall, into the self-esteem arena, confidence, achievement. Right, but this is modern educational approach, and this is what Norman Kemp talks about in his article from 2000, that most especially, most especially in special education classrooms, we have inverted Maslow's pyramid. We take these students out when they don't function normally. So we're going to take them out and we're going to teach them how to function normally. Until they function normally, we're going to keep them separate, because they have to reach self-esteem before anyone will love them, right? This is our pseudo-psychology of today. You need to love yourself before someone will love you. You need to, accomplish this big. Maybe after you get your degree, you'll find somebody to love you. What's going on? Have you not heard these things? People say these. It's Facebook's it's all over it. So, and Kemp tells us that's ridiculous. If you separate out people from the others and they have no sense of community and no support, they're not going to function normally. They're not learning to function like everybody else, right? Gatudas gives us a special school version where he shows us that forming relationships comes before positive classroom interaction, which comes before the student's availability to learn. So Gatudas is saying, let's take Maslow's hierarchy of needs, set it in the school arena, and show you what really has to happen. Now, I actually want to group y'all. So Josh is passionate about his faith. So anyone who shares that, faith, religion, spiritual growth, please go back there with Josh. Catherine is passionate about, did you say teaching in prison? Nice. Okay, so teaching, let's add art to that, music. If you could go, Catherine, back to this table. All right, what about family? That's y'all? Okay, the family people are here. Okay, so I would like for you to, one, take the time to introduce yourself, mention your favorite song, right, share that. And then two, I would like for each of you to think of something you do that helps your students to feel comfortable. Let's start there. What do you do? The one thing you're sure you do that helps your students to feel comfortable. Let's make a list of that. Let's do some sharing.
I love that.
So I would like for, Emily, can you read your list?
We're in the same boat.
Yes, I can.
We're ready, y'all. Got it. There's like time.
Okay.
I wish we had more time.
Me too. We're enjoying
Yes, read your list,
We are
Emily.
going to call them by name. And one thing I didn't get a chance to share with my group, but I'm making my students this semester memorize each other's names. So they are, like, we're going to have a quiz on it. And it's been really interesting to see how they pay attention so much more to each other. And they know each other and they have their little communities even within the class because I've made that a priority.
Yeah.
I always memorize names. Ask about their families. Smile on the first day, and say to the students, I am so glad you're in this class, especially the ones that you can see are a little bit.
After you've been teaching 21 years, the ones that need to hear that.
Hey, I want to be here. I tell them, I want to be here with you. There's
Yeah.
nothing else I want to do right now.
Yeah.
We were talking about making students feel uncomfortable to get them used to certain exercises and classroom activities so that they will become comfortable and grow in that way. Then we were talking about making sure to communicate to students that we believe in them, that they can do what it is that we're teaching, especially on the back end of grading when they might not have gotten to where they want to go. And then, what's this last one?
We had said to let them know that we're in it together. A good instructor must.
Because we're all in this together. I actually sing that.
Guides. Good instructors are not instructors that merely disseminate knowledge. We're guides.
All right.
Oh.
What do we have over here?
In their minds.
We said use humor, joke with them, self-appreciating humor, sometimes just bringing humor in to make them feel more comfortable. Admit when we do something incorrectly, so if there's an error or something in a PowerPoint slide, just
Because we all
honest
make
about
mistakes.
it. Right. And then we also said learn their names early on.
I taught 7 classes as an adjunct while I was going through chemotherapy, and I knew every one of my students' names. I didn't know anything else. I knew nothing else. All right, here's the reality. So I'm like, hey, I'm good at this. I know what I'm going to say. And then I thought, maybe I should let my students tell me what I'm good at. So let's take a look. This is what I handed to you. Is a list of responses from my Chattanooga State students last semester. So at the end of the semester, these are all the responses that I got from the few classes that I had then. But I think they like peer review.
They liked it after that.
One, they get to know each other, one. I mean, after we talk about how you really have to be honest with each other, and this is to help each other. That's why we're doing it. But they get to know each other. But why I really think they like it is because they see the other students have their same inadequacies. All right, well, let's talk about this. When they're talking about visual images, here's the reality. The reason that I use current visual images that they're gonna find on social media is the scaffolding, right? They have existing schema, which is the existing mental stores. And if you can scaffold onto their existing mental stores, they will grasp onto these concepts much faster. So for instance, I have to teach exigence and the kairotic moment. And I can do that a whole lot faster. They understand it and grasp onto it a whole lot faster if I give them something like, you know, Beyonce. Because they all know about the Super Bowl performance and this, you know, brouhaha, right? So if I tell them, when is the right time to write about performers inciting racial reactions or whatever it is, racial profiling or music that teaches about social concepts, exigence, kairotic moment, and boom, they get it. Before I was doing that, before I was using these images, they just stare at me. What was Kairos again? 2 weeks in, nobody knew what Kairos was. I started using these images, bam, they are on it! The other thing is in your face. This is the section, right, where they're like, in your face. I don't put anything between us. Like right now, I'm not standing behind the podium. I'm not standing behind the table if I can help it. Emotionally, mentally, even when I was going through chemo, boom, everything of mine got left at the door and I walked in. We might be running out of time.
Okay.
So let's go down to, you included everyone whether or not they wanted to be included.
I respect you as a person and a teacher because it is not just about the content, but the person learning it. Thank you for actually giving a blah, blah, blah shit.
Yeah!
Sorry.
That was a Marine. That was my Marine. I know that. I mean, he didn't write his name, but I know that was him. Okay, so here's the reality. The name thing is huge. It's huge. They don't hear their names. And some of you said that when you said, this is what I do. Now, you see that I'm using these cards. Dr. McCoy taught me this at UTC. Dr. McCoy said he used the cards. He had students write name, write something else about themselves, book, song, TV show, whatever. And he said he used them, one, to make sure that he was diplomatic on how he called on his students, right? I don't call on the same person, so I'm not favoring or picking on. And so I thought, okay, that's good. Well, when I started doing it, the other thing was, now I got something you're interested in, so maybe in my instructional method, I'm adding in mention of the beach or something, right, for each student. I also actually listen to all their songs. I don't watch all their shows because I just don't have the time. But I do listen to all their songs to get an idea of what they're listening to. The thing is, by the second week, I actually know their names. This is how I learn their names, even while teaching 7 classes and going through chemotherapy. By the second week from doing this, I called every single one of their names every single class period. They learned each other's names. Okay, so the reality is we have students, yes, that's Taylor Swift. My daughter's a little bit of a fan. We have students who want to belong, they want to come out of their shells, they do want to present, they do want to share and speak, even if they say they don't. They do, and they tell me they do. They tell me thank you. So what do we do? This is why I used the sermon earlier, and I saw some of you balk, but what's the reality? This is what we're doing. We're establishing authority. I walk into the room, I stand the whole time. I'm always above them. Because that's essential. The rest of the stuff is very hippie, everybody, you know, all about a love fest if you have no authority. You have to have authority. The name, I tell them what they can call me. It's one of the first things I do. You can call me Miss Kemp, you can call me Professor Kemp, you can call me Kemp. But until, as long as I'm your teacher, you have to address me with respect, right? Here's a card. You can tell me what you would like to be called. I'm gonna afford you the same respect, right? So I put nothing between us. I have the schedule set up so that they know absolutely everything they're gonna do. It's there, I don't have to, what's coming up next? It's okay, I know what's coming up next. The policies, yes, no late work, no makeup work, none, ever. But the reality is they appreciate that, because I tell them from the beginning, and I don't deviate, and I do quiz them over the next couple of class periods after the first one, so that they know these policies are not just written down for funsies, they actually apply to them. I'm available before class, right? A few minutes before class, a few minutes after class. I have a one-on-one conversation with every single student. I have a checklist, you know, where we highlight or we check to make, this is my one-on-one conversation column. Did I not get to you before midterm? Hey, can you come meet with me for a few minutes? We could go drink some coffee if you have a second, or, oh, you're not available till 2? Okay, I can do, you know, whatever you can do, right? But I'm gonna make sure I meet with you one-on-one, so I'm looking you in the eye before midterm. I speak positively. I never say anything negative about my students. Not in the class, not out. It's a bad habit, it's nasty. It's infectious. I share some of me with them, and I do that through, since we talk about visual rhetoric, I show them my profile pictures where they see me with my kids, with my soccer babies, you know, kissing, hugging on them, right? So it just shows them I'm a caring person. It gives them a momentary window into that. I tell them when I sacrifice for them, not in a martyr way, but in a way that lets them know, hey, you're important enough to me that I gave up that national championship game and stayed home and graded your papers because I knew you wanted your papers back, and that would make you feel better. You know, just in a way that lets them know they're important enough for me to give up a little something for them. I share my joy. I'm glad you're my student. I'm glad I got to be in this room teaching you. What y'all were saying earlier, positive affirmation statements, but also one-on-one. You know, to be able to look somebody in the eye, hey, I'm glad you're here. Okay, this sounds like, you know, like everything I do, but I want to let them know, hey, when I made this instructional plan, we're doing this song lyric sharing and analysis because you're a rhythmic learner, and I wanted to make sure that you were able to attach to the concepts and to what we're learning, because you are. What's the reality? I didn't know you were going to be in my classroom, but all of Gardner's modalities are going to be in your classroom, and that's the easiest way for you to say, my instruction plan is about you, right? Of course, we want to be encouraging. What I'd like to mention here, because I know we're running out of time, is that I leave competition outside the classroom, and when you encourage your classmate, I announce it. Hey, Josh was over here and he just really encouraged Jonathan to, you know, that he thought his writing was good and that he's really improving. I think that's great. We should all do that. You know, like make an announcement. Encourage that. All right. So, I think we're going to run out of time here, right? But, I needed more time. Here's what I want to say. We all balked at the affection thing. How do we show students affection? We are trained today to avoid that, are we not? I mean, education classes today, they teach you the side hug, like your student wants to show you physical affection and you do like this. This says, I know you want to be near me, but I think you have the plague, right? So, we got to do that. We got to do the plague hug. The reality is that all of these positive statements show affection. But I did have a situation last semester that will help you to understand what I'm really talking about. One of my students came into the class high, and I took him out in the hallway and said, you have to leave. If you need help, I can have one of your classmates assist you. If you need to go to the medical center, we can make sure you get there, but you have to leave, and you can't come back until you're not high. And I want to see you next class period, sober and all, right? He came back in the classroom, and nothing was ever said again. And what it said to him and to the other students who witnessed, you know, something was going on, is that I have a caring, accepting nature, and I do want them to be there. And we just gotta find ways to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, good job.
Nell and Pickett would be proud of that.
Yeah?
Yeah, she would be very proud. You did her proud.